So a good story should be 4R's. Relevant, okay, it's related to the job. It has to retain. It has to be memorable. It has to stay in the interviewer's mind. And has to be, the interviewer can recall it. So retainable, that means it stays. And recorded is that I can talk about it with someone else. And then you can repeat, okay? So it's like, oh, I remember that story. It lasts very long. And maybe after the interview, okay, 2 days later, I recalled it. I want to tell someone. Okay, so what's the details? I have to be able to repeat the story really quickly. So you have to cover this 4R's. That's a good story. Relevant, retain, recall, and repeat. So is your story good enough? Or you just want to tell them what you want to tell them without caring whether or not they can remember a story, without caring whether or not your story is fun and interesting, engaging, and memorable, okay? If you don't care about how the interviewer feel, then, you don't have to worry about storytelling. In the future of your career, if you don't care what your boss wants to hear, if you don't care what kind of message you want to send out to your customer, then storytelling skill is not for you. But really, is that you? Okay, I hope not. It's very important. Let me guarantee you that when you understand the concept of storytelling, you will be a true professional, because negotiation, communication are day-to-day business skills that you need to utilize. Start early, start now. All right, so give a memorable interviews. So your story needs to be relevant. Okay, so what do I mean by relevant? Most candidates approach a job interviews from their point of view without thinking about what's in it for the hiring manager. So in other classes, we talked about this frequency that people are always tuning in. It's called WIIFM. What's in it for me? So the information I hear from other people, what's important for me? Okay? If there's no relevance, it doesn't concern me, then I'm not going to pay attention to the person. It's just human nature. So if your message, you don't really put relevant information for the interviewer, then the chances for your interview to continue successfully is very, very difficult. All right. So typically, a scenario would be a sales representative interview. Okay. So saying that someone is applying for a job to be a sales representative, and this person says something like this: I'm a proactive person who loves sports such as hiking and swimming. There are 4 people in my family. I grew up in a small town in Taoyuan. What happened here? In an interview, when someone asks you to introduce yourself and you say something like this, you clearly do not care about the company. You just hear the question and say, oh, so I have to introduce myself, so this is what I have. It also shows that you're not prepared for the interview. So what would be a better response? So the right example would be, I am a proactive person who likes to think of solutions to prevent problems from happening. What I love about working in sales is that I can be close to customers to listen to their real needs and wants. So that for the company, they want a sales who care about their customers, who can perform, who can sell. Okay? So a person who loves to connect with the client, with the customer, are the people that they're trying to hire. So this is relevant message. Okay? So who likes to think solution to prevent problems from happening? Also relevant. we don't want to hire someone who likes swimming or hiking, okay, unless you are looking for a PE teacher who can teach sports, swimming and hiking. But for sales, really, we need someone who can handle problems, who can handle customer complaints, who care about customers' needs. This clearly is the right person, not the last one. So relevant information is very important. To give a memorable interview, so if you want the story to retain, what do we need? So you got to stick in the interviewer's mind. So that means that this message, these stories have to be imprinted, embedded into the interviewer's mind. So the best way to do that is to master your narrative. It's extremely important to know your story before you walk in. So you want that story to be memorable. That means that your story has to flow really smoothly so they can remember it better. If you don't have a story prepared before the interview, okay, chances are you will be using a lot of filler words like, so it's annoying. It's frustrating to hear. It's very difficult for the interviewer to concentrate with your story. So you need to prepare. And I mean, you need more than just one story to tell. It's not just about tell me about yourself. It's not about personal introductions, okay? It's more than that. Basically, you need a story for all the common interview questions, okay? Wrong answer. Again, sales interview. I like to use sales interview because it's the most common positions, okay, in the world. So, wrong example. I study in economics in Taipei University. I'm very good at, analyzing financial trends. I'm not sure what happened to this person, but when I read it to you, did it sound really annoying? I believe so. I mean, you don't like to hear someone who's not prepared, okay? Especially when the company is hiring a professional to do the job, and this person sits down and speak like this. I can imagine that interviewers would be thinking that this person is kind of wasting my time right now because can't even give a proper self-introduction, okay? So that's bad. Wrong answer. So right example would be something like this. During my time at National Taipei University, I took many courses that have given me the skill set to be successful in this position. So as a student, I took many courses and I developed skill set for this position. Okay, so it's very, very powerful. Okay, not only it's relevant, it also helps the interviewers to remember this answer because it's a confident college graduate from Taipei University to be sitting in front of the interviewer telling him or her, that I have the skill set. Even though I just graduated, I developed a skill set in schools for this position. Very clear, very confident. Okay, so that memory, that story will stay. Although my coursework was mainly based on financial analysis, this course pushed me out of my comfort zone to network and build relationship with my classmates. Even if this person has no job experiences, but through a storytelling, I can remember that. His response, because he's trying to tell the interviewer that he can connect. He's comfortable getting out of the comfort zone to complete assignments, connect with people, okay? Financial analysis skills. Everything in one quick 30-second story. or maybe less. Do you think you can remember this message? I can. It's very clear, very confident. Okay? So that's the right example. But what about recall? Let's go to the next one. So if you want the story to be recalled, having a short, direct responses for several pressing issues of the company means that a busy hiring manager will be able to recall your answer with ease without looking at his or her notes. So that means your message has to be chunked into bullet points, so it's easy to remember. That's, what we call recall. So you can always retain is to keep that in mind. And recall is that whenever I think of you as an interviewee and I look at the name, I was like, okay, that's the thing, 1, 2, 3, that he or she has done before. So very important to chunk your message, to shorten, concise your message, because it's easier for the interviewer to remember. Wrong answer would be, I'm working hard. I'm hardworking and a fast learner. I also work well under pressure. Therefore, I'm suitable candidate for this position. Probably. I don't have the number here, but I would say that probably 5 out of 10 people who go to an interview for the first time, they would say something like this. I'm hardworking, fast learner, okay? I think outside the box. I'm a team player, okay? Without providing any evidence, and I'm suitable for the job. And you just want the interviewer to believe you are telling the truth. But chances are, it's not enough, really. Even though if you're telling the truth, what makes the interviewer trust you? It's the first time they meet you. Okay, previously it's just resume and cover letter, and finally you get a chance to meet your interviewer face to face. And this is the best answer you can give? It's kind of tough, you get to that stage that you're so close of getting your job, but you just never take the time to prepare for your interview. That's kind of sad, okay? It's just an opportunity blown away. What would be a right example? This is what I want you to practice on. Since ABC company is expanding into Southeast Asian region, my previous experiences working in Singapore as a sales manager would be beneficial to ABC company. I can also speak basic Thai and Vietnamese language because I'm fascinated about the culture. I would love to take the challenge to dominate the market for ABC. Okay, so you can recall because you chunk it. First, you mentioned the company is expanding, so you did your research. My previous role, first thing, I worked in Singapore. Second thing, I speak basic Thai and Vietnamese. Third things, I love to dominate the market for this company. 3 things, okay, boom, boom, boom. Very easy to remember, very easy to recall. So next time when I try to remember this person, I would be, this would be the person who has worked in Singapore before, and he or she speaks Thai and Vietnamese, and he or she can help us dominate the market. 3 points, okay? Easy to recall. Last one is you need to be able to repeat that story. How do we repeat the story? Okay, if the hiring manager can recall your answer easily, then they can share the story with others. So give your answer with brevity and punch, and the hiring manager won't be able to keep them to themselves. Has to be brief, easy, has to have a punch, okay? Has to have a power. So that means because of the punch and the simpleness of the story, when the hiring manager wants to share the stories, they have to share an interesting one. They have to share ones with a lot of punches. So which story would they pick? Okay, so let's say if hiring manager, after all the interviewing process, and just before they go home, he or she walk into the office and sit down, look tired, and colleague ask, so, did you get anyone who can take the position? Hiring manager would think about that question and provide the one person or two that gave the best stories to the colleague. And if your story was repeated from the hiring manager's mouth to other colleagues, what do you think happened there? That means your story stuck in hiring manager's mind. He or she can always remember. So the next round, or if it's a final decision, who do you think he or she would pick? You would have a high chance, okay? All right, so this one to repeat, wrong example. I have to, okay, so if you asked in the interview, I'll start with the time when I first entered the industry. I was young, inexperienced, so it took me 5 years to develop the skill I have right now. In this 5 years, blah, 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 blah. So when the interviewer sits in front of you listening to your story, and when you start with, I have to start with the time when I first started. The interviewer will be like, no, please don't. Don't talk about your life stories, okay? I only have 20 minutes or 30 minutes with you. So don't do that because you cannot repeat. It's a life story. So what do you expect? How like a hiring manager can repeat that story to someone else? The right answer. The implementation I proposed and executed paid off within 3 months and doubled the revenue to 4 million by the end of the quarter. Of course, I couldn't have done it without my teammate and the trust and support from my management office. Get to the point. Talk about your achievement. Talk about numbers. Numbers are easy to remember. Okay, excuse me. Executed in 3 months, double the revenue to 4 millions, okay, and everything done by the end of the quarter. Okay, so next time when the hiring manager think about who he or she should hire, okay, he or she has to talk to the supervisor or the boss and say, hey, there's a candidate who generated 4 million for revenue within 3 months and just before the quarter ends. That's an interesting person we need to bring on board. I can repeat that story. Can you repeat the last story? I'll start with first when I step into the industry. Not really, okay? So very, very important to think about the 4 R's, okay? So relevant, okay, retain, recall, repeat. Think about that because these 4 R's will help your stories be very, very memorable for the interviewer because that's the goal.